"You've grown into a beautiful woman, Anita," he said, stepping closer. Anita backed away. "Please, Uncle, this isn't funny." "I'm not joking," he said, grabbing her wrist. Anita tried to scream, but he covered her mouth. He pinned to the bed and had his way with her. When it was over, he stood beside her, watching her cry. Anita Okafor had always felt safe. As the only child of her parents, she had a comfortable life. She wasn't spoiled, but she never lacked anything. Her father, Mr. Okafor, was a successful businessman who ran a construction company, and her mother, Mrs. Okafor, was a school principal. At 18, Anita was in her final year of secondary school, preparing for her university entrance exams. She wanted to study nursing, and her parents supported her dream wholeheartedly. One Friday afternoon, as Anita returned from school, she noticed her mother and father packing their bags. "Mummy? Daddy? Where are you going?" she asked, dropping her school bag on the couch. Her mother sighed. "We have to travel to Anambra for a funeral. Your father's cousin passed away." "Are you sure you'll be okay alone?" her father asked, concern in his voice. Anita laughed. "Daddy, I'm 18, not a child. I'll be fine." Her father still looked hesitant. "I just don't like the idea of leaving you alone." "She'll be fine," her mother assured him. "The house is secure, and she has everything she needs." Mr. Okafor still wasn't convinced. He pulled out his wallet and handed Anita some money. "Take this. If you need anything, call me." "Daddy, I already have money," Anita protested. "Take it," he insisted. "You never know." Anita smiled and took the money. "All right, I'll take it. Have a safe trip." By 3 p.m., her parents had left, and Anita was alone in the house. She planned to spend the weekend studying, watching Netflix, and enjoying the peace. She had no idea her life was about to change forever. Around 7 p.m., as Anita was about to start studying, she heard a car pull into the compound. Confused, she went to the window and peeked outside. Her heart skipped a beat when she recognized the black SUV. It was Uncle Felix. Felix was her mother's older brother. He was 36 years old, rich, and always well-dressed. He was charming, well-spoken, and respected in the family. But Anita had never felt comfortable around him. There was something about the way he looked at her that made her uneasy. She quickly composed herself and went to open the door. "Uncle Felix, good evening," she greeted politely. Felix gave her a wide smile. "Anita, my beautiful niece, look at you. You're all grown now." Anita forced a smile. "Mummy and Daddy traveled. They didn't tell you?" "No, they didn't," he said, stepping into the house without waiting for an invitation. "I was in the area and decided to check on you guys. It's been a while since I saw you." Anita closed the door and followed him to the living room. "You're here alone?" Felix asked, sitting down and stretching his legs. "Yes, but I'm fine." Felix chuckled. "You're a big girl now. I can see that." His eyes roamed over her, and Anita shifted uncomfortably. He reached into his pocket and pulled out a bundle of cash. "Here, take this. I know university is expensive." Anita hesitated. "Thank you, Uncle, but I don't need it." Felix raised an eyebrow. "You don't need money?" He laughed. "Are you sure you're an Okafor?" Anita forced a small laugh. "I mean, Daddy already gave me some." "Still, keep it," he insisted, pressing the money into her hand. His fingers lingered on hers longer than necessary. Anita nodded quickly and placed the money on the table. "Let me get you something to drink." Felix stayed longer than expected. He watched TV, asked her about school, and kept making comments about how she had matured. By 10 p.m., Anita stood up and stretched. Uncle, it's getting late. Bien, are you heading home? Anita asked. Felix laughed. Heading home? Have you forgotten I'm your uncle and I can stay here for as long as I want? Besides, this house is big enough. I'll sleep in the guest room, don't worry about me. Anita hesitated. I don't know, Uncle. My parents didn't mention... You're sending your uncle away? Felix asked, raising an eyebrow. Come on, Anita. I used to change your diapers. Anita sighed. What could she say? He was family. That night, Anita locked her bedroom door before going to bed. At midnight, a knock came on her door. Anita, open up, Felix called. Anita sat up, her heart pounding. What is it? I need water. There's water in the kitchen, she replied. I don't know where the cups are. Anita sighed, got up, and unlocked the door slightly. Before she could react, Felix pushed the door open and stepped inside, locking it behind him. Her stomach twisted in fear. Uncle, what are you doing? Felix's smile disappeared. His eyes were dark, predatory. You've grown into a beautiful woman, Anita, he said, stepping closer. Anita backed away. Please, Uncle, this isn't funny. I'm not joking, he said, grabbing her wrist. Anita tried to scream, but he covered her mouth. He pinned to the bed and had his way with her. When it was over, he stood beside her, watching her cry. What happened here should not leave the four corners of this room, he said coldly. If it does, you will face the consequences. Anita sobbed into her pillow, unable to look at him. Even if you tried, you won't succeed, he continued. You have no evidence of what I did. And stop that rubbish cry, because you aren't even a virgin. Anita curled up in bed, her body shaking with silent tears, as Felix calmly walked out of her room. The next morning, he left early, acting as if nothing had happened. When her parents returned, her mother noticed something was wrong immediately. Anita, what's wrong? Why do you look so pale? Anita hesitated before whispering, Mommy, Uncle Felix, he forced himself on me. Her mother's eyes widened in shock, but then her face hardened. You better stop that rubbish you are saying, she snapped. If this is a joke, end it now. Anita's heart sank. Mommy, I'm not lying. Enough, her mother shouted. I don't want to hear this nonsense again. He's your uncle. He would never do such a thing. Tears streamed down Anita's face. But it's the truth. Go to your room. I don't want to hear another word about this, her mother said angrily. Anita's world shattered. The one person she expected to protect her had turned her back on her. That night, she cried herself to sleep. Days passed, and Anita couldn't take it anymore. One evening, while her father was watching TV, she walked toward him timidly. Daddy, I need to tell you something. He muted the TV and looked at her. What is it? She took a deep breath. It's about Uncle Felix. He hurt me. Her father's expression darkened. What do you mean? What happened? I can't say it, she whispered, tears streaming down her face. Mr. Okafor stood up, his body trembling with rage. Are you telling me that man touched you? Anita nodded. He turned to his wife. Did you know about this? Mrs. Okafor lowered her head in shame. She told me, but I didn't believe her. Mr. Okafor clenched his fists. I installed security cameras in every room. I'm going to check the footage. Upstairs, he pulled up the video from that night. His hands shook as he watched Felix sneak into Anita's room. His heart shattered. He couldn't even finish watching. He stormed downstairs, his face red with anger. Mr. Okafor pulled Anita into a tight hug. Don't worry. We'll get to the bottom of this. I don't care if he's your mother's brother. He will face the consequences. Felix was arrested, and the case made headlines. During the trial, Felix's lawyer tried to discredit Anita. "She's lying," Felix sneered. "She wanted it." Mr. Okafor's hands clenched into fists. He had heard enough. As the judge prepared to sentence Felix, Mr. Okafor pulled out a gun and fired 2 shots at Felix's chest. Felix collapsed and lost his life at the spot. Gasps and screams filled the courtroom. Security rushed in and managed to seize Mr. Okafor's gun. Okafor was sentenced to prison, but his case was cleared as self-defense against a predator. What lesson do you learn from this story? Parents, share your thoughts on the comments section, and don't forget to like and subscribe.